Good afternoon, everybody. At the outset, let me welcome my co-host, my brother and good friend Nitin Nagrale, who's one of the first people I got to know in the industry in 2014 when I was launching BW Hotelier. We launched on the 12th of January 2015. Let me also introduce my uh, co co-panelists, co-speakers. Let me start with Mr. Jose Fernandez. He's the Vice President, Procurement at the Oberoi Group of Hotels and Resorts. Let me introduce Dr. Sanjay Goyal. Can you keep raising your hands here? Your names are written though. He's the Vice President, Supply Management at Light Bite Foods. He's an industry veteran. He's a genius in his field like everybody else is. And there is Mr. Bharni. Bharni Dharan, we call him Bharni. Mr. Bharni Dharan Ramaswamy, he's the Director of Procurement of Marriott in India. These are all corporate. These are big guys, right? I am a small ant in front of them. They had these businesses for an entire corporation in India, right? So imagine you have somebody who heads Oberoi's, somebody who heads Light Bite. There is Bharni who heads Marriott. Then you have Clyde, the silent messenger. Clyde Fernandez is the Associate Vice President for Taj IHCL Indian Hotels Corporation Limited. We have Sudhirji, Mr. Sudhir Gupta, who's the Head Procurement for ITC Hotels. Big positions. We have Sai Shankar. Hi, Sai. He's the Vice President Procurement for Leela Palaces, Hotels and Resorts. We have Major Aval Sethi. He heads the procurement for out of Bangalore. He's a soldier, he's an officer, he's an army veteran. We respect him a lot. Noida, now he's in Bangalore. Embassy brings to us WeWork. They have a lot of hotels. They are one of the biggest real estate giants. There's a whole lot of giants in the south of India, but Embassy is one of the biggest, right, along with Prestige. Now let me come to this man who's my partner in crime. What is his name? He's Dr. Nitin Shankar Nagrale, right? Some roots in Rajasthan, some in Maharashtra. He's the founder of HPMF, right? This is a huge movement, not just in India, but in South Asia. He's spread out to the Middle East. He's looking at Africa. He's looking at a whole lot of countries. So this is a big movement. If somebody has attended HPMF events, they would know what the power of HPMF and Nitin Shankar Nagrale is. He's a movement. And he's also the CEO. This is his new job, right? Earlier he was with Foodlink. Now he is the CEO for the entire South Asian region and all the surrounding countries for Quality NZ India, which is a New Zealand setup owned by a few New Zealand cricketers for all the cricket fans who are who have some love for cricket. This is owned by various cricketers. Nitin will brief you. Now this panel is about procurement. I mean, the subject says it all. It's called Procurement, the big game changer. Now, as we struggle to get out of the pandemic, the lockdown, purchase, as we call it, procurement, engineering, housekeeping, are the three big guys who will get all hotels running from a dead stop. I say dead stop because they're all shut down. Air conditioning is shut, lighting is shut. They have to line up all suppliers. And unlike, you know, each one of you who you see on the screen, they have not one hotel, not two hotels, not three hotels, not 10 hotels. Some of them have got over hundreds of hotels under them. I mean, you look at ITC, Marriott, you look at Oberoi is there. I'm just looking around, Taj is there. I mean, Leela is there. So you're talking about big guys here. So without much ado, I'm going to roll the dice and I'll throw it to Nitin. Nitin, over to you. Take it over. Let the show begin. Let the world know what you could do.
Thank you. Thank you very much, BW Hotelier and Mr. Bhuvanesh. I call you Bade Bhai. So, thank you for this opportunity wherein the hospitality industry and especially the procurement section has got this importance that immediately after the CEOs and the owners, it's the procurement professionals who are in line and talking to the world. So, my heartiest welcome to the colleagues who are sitting here, who are from the different organizations. So you talked about some of the largest. I'm saying these are the only hotels who are there in India, and all of them are being represented today. I'm thankful to everyone who's here. My dear friend Arni, my mentor Dr. Goyal, my dear friend Usuf, my ex-boss Clyde. So all of them are there who have been the larger perspective, and these are the people who have defined procurement in the hospitality industry. The newest friends, Sai Shankar and Mr. Gupta, have been there in line, and Major Avul Sethi Saab also. I know him for last 2 years. So the objective of today's session is to understand what has happened in last few months and what's going to happen in next few months, and how can we prepare the industry in the procurement perspective. How important it is to have a very strong backbone, and I consider hospitality procurement as the backbone of the industry. So, when I start, I have to tell you that it's a very fluid and dynamic world that has hardly parallels for even the best expert to suggest a way out of. Human being, top of creations, the onus is upon us to come out of this jam with a classic and lasting paradigm in the new normal, which is here to stay for a foreseeable future. So today, all of us would want to find out what these experts have, uh, which will help all of us to come out of the situation in some manner. Pandemic has hit us. It has hit us so badly that most of our organizations are closed down. Last night, I was talking to a colleague of mine from Calcutta, and he was a little upset that the dogs are going. But then I told him that just wait for some time. Jobs, yes, because as there is no revenue, obviously organizations would work in a different manner. And they will start behaving more now than wait for anything else. So what we would do today is these experts who are sitting here, I'm going to be asking certain questions. We will build up those questions, understand the situation in hand, try to find immediate solutions, and then also we will try to find out solutions which will help the industry to find solutions for the larger period. Nobody knows. Nobody is a guru and nobody is a pandit or jyotishi to understand till when this COVID-19 is going to be hitting us. Nobody knows when are we going to be coming out of it. And but then we will try to work backwards, and we will also try to find some solutions which will help us to be more proactive and more prepared and ready for the problems which will be coming in soon. So, may I request Mr. Bharanidharan Ramaswamy? We fondly call Mr. Bharanidharan Ramaswamy as Bharani. I have worked under Mr. Bharanidharan a few years ago, and I have immense respect for his modesty, his simplicity, and the way he carries himself. Everybody loves him, whether it's the team members of Marriott Hotels or whether the supplier partners. So our supplier partners are going to be very important, and hence we have got some guest speakers who will also pose questions to the panelists from here on. So, Bunny, I have a question to you. The first question is, today all of us are in lockdown, especially in Mumbai and other parts of India. It's the fifth lockdown. Can you please tell us what are the changes you foresee in hospitality procurement, and what are some of these critical low-hanging opportunities and trends you visualize post lockdown? So, if you can answer this question, Mr. Bharanidharan Ramaswamy.
Thank you, BW Hoteliers, and also thank you, Nitin, for a wonderful opportunity. I think this is a great session to really share our knowledge and an understanding. I mean, exactly as you said, this is surely a kind of the challenge is going through, whole world is going through the challenge, and it is not individual. I think we all need to really work together on various initiatives to overcome this. So when you talk about the specific, current situation, I think surely, a lot of hotels are, either permanently shut or temporarily shut. And we are surely like a lot of supply chain related, issues are going on around. So one of the, when you talk about the changes, these changes, what I foresee after the lockdown is surely one of the very, very critical aspect. What I personally feel is that we need to really elevate the hygiene levels, either at the hotel operations or at the kind of, supplier operations. We need to really elevate the hygiene standards of the procurement. That is going to be really helpful and, to give a kind of confidence to the guest. When I talk about the elevating the hygiene standards, surely it is about the personal hygiene of the supply partners. We need to evaluate the kind of the transportation and packaging material, what kind of hygiene standards they are, implementing it. And along with that, even to the extent of like production areas, we need to really evaluate the opportunities of how do we do a kind of the vendor audits, more like a personally one-on-one going and doing a vendor audit may become more difficult, but we need to really come out with a real stronger opportunity to do a kind of virtual vendor audit possibility. And also, even some occasions, maybe we need to go and ask suppliers to give the access to their CCTV footages so that we can really evaluate their supplier quality and hygiene standards. And even to the extent of like when we are even exchanging the paper documentation, we need to understand what kind of hygiene standards we need to evaluate. This is something I strongly believe is a biggest change, which is more like a change to the route. We need to think about it on every action, what we are doing, how that is going to be impacting our hygiene standards, because that is truly going to have a highest impact on our guest, safety. So that's a primary factor, what I personally feel. And over and above the opportunities, when you talk about the opportunities, what I foresee is that surely in the current scenario of COVID, any supply partner who is going to really come out and then show a kind of highest level of hygiene standards and the highest level of food safety or the service level safety, they are going to have a biggest opportunity to work with the kind of hospitality. Okay, and that's and also this may also lead to, I foresee that certain product consolidation, like more like a item rationalization, and also kind of some consolidation of the procurement services may happen. That's my personal view on it. Okay, I think by the time Nitin comes, maybe I'll add a couple of more points to it. I think what I see is that surely the opportunity, biggest opportunity also, what I foresee in the going forward is that a lot of automation is expected to happen, because today we want a kind of touch free, like any items which is really not humanly handled, it's been handled kind of with automation possibilities, whereas less of human intervention in touching the kind of product, finish whether a food or non-food, that's going to really pick up a bigger focus. So I think automation is going to become a more area and opportunity for the future. That's what I personally feel. Nitin, over to you, Nitin. Last year.
Yeah, thanks, Barney. I'm sorry, the internet is really patchy today. I was facing this problem since afternoon. So my next question is to Mr. Usuf Francis. Mr. Francis is the Vice President of Materials at the Overus. Usuf, the question to you is, the critical aspect of procurement is supply of resources at any given time and any given stage in any number. So can you please recommend a realistic, practical and workable pricing or a logistic strategy?
First of all, thank you for all the wonderful people that Business World, in case you can hear me. Thank you for the opportunity to interact. I hope to learn a few points before the session ends. And coming to the question that supply of resources, as we ramp up, as COVID hopefully gets past us, is going to be an important thing. Basically, first, all of us are operating at limited cash availability. Secondly, we don't expect demand to go back to pre-COVID levels immediately. So there will be a gradual increase in demand, which means your revenue also will be that much constrained. Thirdly, all of us are spending quite a bit in activities which relate to improving our current sanitation standards, our hygiene standards, to make them in line with what is our guest expectations. So there's a lot of spending happening there. There's a lot of new items and technologies being adopted, which will hopefully safeguard our colleagues and our guests against COVID. So a lot of resources will go in that area. So keeping this in mind low availability of resources as well as the fact that a lot of resources would go into these areas, one has to be cognizant of the fact, A, certain categories will be affected more badly than others. Certain categories will definitely be more affected than other categories. So what are some of the steps that our brethren and we are planning to adopt? One is that I think gone are the days when buying bulk made a lot of sense. One has to now start seeing buy globally, which means that the available quantities that you buy have to be in tune with what is your demand. So as the demand increases, then probably you can increase cost. Secondly, you look at, as Bernie said, suppliers or just to summarize this thing, I think we are living in an era where resources are very limited. There are other aspects, other categories like sanitation and hygiene, which are going to eat up a lot of resources. Revenue in the future months is going to be constrained. We do things like making buy more precious stuff, give priority to suppliers who are able to supply closer to you. Certain categories we may not buy. For example, capital expenditure and new projects might get affected for a longer period of time. But other OPEX items will continue to be purchased. But one has to be cognizant of the fact that how much can you stretch the this could be in terms of lower cost, increased payment terms. You will have to use all these levers. So there is no one size fits all. But whatever you do, make sure that you prioritize cash over any other thing. This will really give you the runway to accelerate when the demand goes up. And we hope that the demand goes up soon. Over to you, Nitin.
Today's stresses of survival and optimization of best talent. High performance is the way forward. Layoffs is an evil unavoidable. Organizations have to let go the less resourceful. What measures would you suggest so that the organization gets into a quick start? Optimal and sustainable operations.
So Bhuvaneshwar, in any circumstances, be it COVID or not COVID, retention of your best and talented and high performers is a given. Today's stress on survival do outweigh others, but organizations with very strong processes will be in a position to handle this better than the others and more effectively. One has to make itself useful in the new context. In the current COVID situation, it's all about survival, revival, and thrival. Organizations may be faced with the predicament of taking tough calls and decisions, but organizations which are resilient will be in a position to bounce back quickly. And they will go through and sail through the situation with much more ease than others. Whilst we talked about measures to be taken for hotel openings and what needs to be done with more credibility and assurance, staff needs to be well trained. Organizations will have to look at different business propositions in light of the fact that today top lines are totally, wiped out, and the traditional method of gaining your revenues, which is basically rooms and beverages, is seeing no growth. In fact, it's a massive drop. So we have to look at new options, new opportunities, new ways to do business. Some of the new ways which people are doing currently is looking at home deliveries, which is something very different. Other ancillary businesses like spa and that part of the business, which earlier was not the central focus. My advice to the purchase fraternity is, over the last 2-3 decades, we've seen not exactly the same, but we've seen some very major catastrophes which have affected our business. If you go back in the year 2002, we had WTC and the industry went through a turmoil, but we bounced back. Then we had the Mumbai attacks about 10 years back. And going along with it was the global slowdown around the same time. And we bounced back. So there may be immediate uncertainties. Importantly, if you keep value to your organizations, associates, employees can be rest assured that this fright or this fear of job losses may not be as it seems so. So that's what I feel on this front, Bhuvnesh.
Ladies and gentlemen, somehow the internet just was not that good. Sai, I have this next question for you, and it's going to be a very difficult question to answer. But then I want so Sai has been the part of the hospitality industry and recently joined Leela now, and I'm happy that he's there on board. So, Sai, the question to you is, what are the most important deliverables of any procurement head and its team is to minimize costs and primarily maximize their revenue in terms of getting best goods, good quality products, and also ensuring that the sourcing is done in a real intelligent manner. Can you please recommend some optimum methods to control costs and also which could contribute to revenue maximization?
Thank you for being part of this panel, and special thanks to Nitin and his team for conducting such event. It's a very good initiative, I'll say. Thank you all. So to answer the question, gone are those days where procurement guys are the kind of behind the scenes handling the entire stress, whether it is related to negotiations and ensure supplies comes at hotel at right time, at the right quality and the right temperature guidelines and what we specify to the vendors. So with this kind of new, so a couple of things which I would like to highlight is look at the traditional, rather than, because we traditionally used to this traditional mode of negotiations wherein float these tenders, call these vendors for negotiations and things like that. But now with this kind of a different situation we are in, I don't think we'll be able to inculcate or get into a kind of a negotiation mode in a traditional way of negotiating the contracts. To my view, to optimize the cost, look at various other alternate options. Now we see with the kind of difficult situation in the market, everybody is selling everything. That could be one of the lead to us. If vendors are not taken aback with the kind of difficulties, why we should be taken aback with the difficult situation. So we should look at finding ways and means in terms of finding a right buy. This is the right opportunity for us to look at evaluating a right source and maybe a optimum source wherein we look at bringing efficiencies in our prices. Because now with the kind of challenges in place, you see a lot of people are selling anything and everything. Even one of our agency come to us, a software agency selling disinfection chemicals and things like that. So we're finding such strange things happening in the market. So it's maybe a right time to look at your vendor base and also look at where we can bring in efficiencies by identifying a right vendor. And now we've been all this writing in our policies and guideline documents that right product at the right negotiated price at the right quality. Now it is like really abiding those policy guidelines and ensure that we bring in efficiencies in what we source to our hotels in the coming days.
I agree with you, Sai. In last 2 months, there must have been an influx and literal flow of people dealing in anything and everything possible connected with COVID-19. Some of them started producing these hand gloves, disposable masks, and maybe some people who are not even in chemicals, they started producing chemicals. So that's going to be taking the opportunity of the present situation. So I agree with you. I agree, definitely.
In fact,
the next
large giants like
Dr. Goel, I'm happy that you agreed to be a part of this session, and you are sitting at home and working from home. I know you started going back to the office, but many of us have been working at home for last around 2.5 months. Can you please tell me, going ahead with online digitalization and this so-called new terminology called work from home, will that, in this new normal situation, will that be acceptable without business being affected, or will it be successful? How do you think? How can we, utilize this work from home approach in future as well?
Good afternoon. I would like to thank Mr. BW Hotelier and HPMF for giving me this opportunity to be here with all of you. And so I would like to go back a couple of years back, in my previous organization, which was an FMCG, and I used to fight with my admin HR team that there used to be 2 guys of my team who used to work long hours, and and I used to fight that please allow them work from home. And my argument used to be, when the sales guys are in the market, there is no way what they are doing, how they are doing. So why not supply chain and logistics guys? And I used to debate, and fortunately then I could get some success, allowing couple of days in a month, right? So the whole thing starts with I think what is important is the trust. So the moment we are able to build that trust in terms of the organization and the employees, that even if they are working from home, they are doing justice to their role and their responsibilities. I give you my example. When we switched off on 16th of March, and I must admit that initial 1 week or so I was completely lost, how to start, what to do, how to schedule my day. And around 23rd, 24th, I kind of gathered myself together again, and I created a small little workstation in my office. I made a schedule. These are the people I will call, and these are the team members I will call, internal and external. So what I feel is, see, this work from home is something not new. This is there already there in other industries, not in hospitality, because hospitality is more for people to people contact and things like that. So it is already there in as a concept in FMCG, IT, and even financial sector. So what I feel is that this is going to be the new normal, and what is important is the self discipline, and what is important is the trust. As an employee, as an organization, we must trust that as long as the job gets done, as long as we trust our employees, as long as there is a connect and deliverables are met, that is the right way of going forward, because there is pressure on the cost. Companies will compress their offices, save that cost. And we have to be mindfully adapt and adopt. We have to adopt technology, we have to adapt to the new ways of working. And this is going to stay, whether COVID or no COVID. I feel that this is going to be the new norm, and even organizations will start accepting, even employees will start finding solutions, how to discipline yourself, how to set a schedule, right? And this is going to stay. And I think this is, if someone can discipline oneself, it's a very, very productive way. It is good for environment. You don't pollute. There is no traffic congestion, right? It is, some of my colleagues said they saved a lot in terms of traffic jam, both time and money. So I see a lot of positives in terms of working from home. Only thing is that we have to have our own ways of working and ground rules set. Okay, I will get ready the way I get ready to go to the office, and I will get down to work, and the family is briefed on that, and there's a break time and things like that. So this is going to be staying with us even after post-COVID. That's what I feel personally.
I agree with you, sir. In certain departments which are administrative in nature, it is possible. Maybe the operations will have to be at the office. Right. What's your say on that? So,
see, any frontline job, job has to be met that way. We cannot be replacing service staff in the malls or in the restaurants or front office in the hotel, right? Any guest contact area, we have to have the people there. That cannot be replaced. But I feel back of the house or admin kind of certain functions, finance, for example, HR, for example, or supply chain, for example, can be, I think, substantially shift to work from home.
My next question is to Mr. Sudhir Gupta. Mr. Gupta is the head of ITC Hotel, and he also takes care of the retail division for the group. So, Mr. Gupta, the question is, the supply partners of goods and services are, as such, the most important element for running a hotel. Understanding, mutual trust has to be of top class and absolutely unhindered to get the timely supplies. In this COVID-19 situation, I'm sure everybody knows that the payments are going to be delayed. In fact, in spite of delayed payment, we will go ahead and also ask certain discounts or rebates from these suppliers. What do you think? What's your say on this?
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. My compliments to BW Hoteliers, Bhuvi, and Nitin to you for organizing such a wonderful event for the knowledge sharing. Really be happy to be here in this platform. Coming to the question, yes, what I think is we are into a very unique situation. Okay, situation wherein all the spokes of this industry, whether it's the vendors, suppliers, we as the customers or our customers and consumers, everybody is under a deep stress. And how to deal with this stress will differentiate between the trustworthiness, loyalty, and your assurance for the future. And in which case, we should not forget that in the months to come, the disruption is just started. It's going to be accentuating a lot, right? The hotels were almost operating at a very low capacity or closed. So we have not seen the actual performance or the fulfillment or the responsiveness from the vendors or supplier side. But as the hotels open, we will experience all that. So it will be a worrisome that on the back end, we have to understand that the raw material shortage is still there, right? The labor shortage is still there. There are a lot of extra guidelines in form of safety and assurance, which the factories or the suppliers needs to follow. There are issues on their past payments. There are working capital issues to invest upon. So we're really fighting on one side with all these issues to enable the suppliers to supply us the way we want. On the other side, some of us or many of us will also be dealing with the situations of discounts or cancellations or asking for lead time and the payments, higher lead time, the payments, etc. I think we are into a testing situation. It's a real test between the vendors and the customers like us, and it will differentiate the kind of relationship what we have with the suppliers in form of opportunistic or the trustworthy partners.
Correct.
I think personally it's going to be the supply chain, the whole perspective is going to undergo a paradigm shift. The way we conduct the business, COVID has put into, to make us think, how should we conduct or reconduct the business? The collaboration between the vendor and the suppliers is going to be, to me, of paramount importance. We can act upon, we can delay the payments, we can look for some kind of discounting, etc. But it should be through mutual support and discussions. Okay, the conditions at both ends needs to be well understood. The target should be to have a sustainable relationship for the future. Okay, the kind of tactical approach, it may give some gains, but only temporarily. Okay, so we should be looking at how can we support. If we want all those kind of SOPs from the suppliers, how we can facilitate from our side to aid their working as well, to reduce their costs. Can we have some predictability of the demand from our side, which can be communicated to them? Can we have some kind of digitization, creation of a digital visibility onto their processes and our processes? So the whole idea should be, to give them assurance that we are absolutely safe. So you can very well come to our hotels. So all that, I think the whole idea should be to make an unbreakable supply chain, a supply chain which is from reactive going into a proactive. So I think it all depends. How do you see the whole perspective? To me, it is going to be a big change.
I also feel, Mr. Gupta, that it's absolutely important that everybody coexists. So we will have to ensure that the suppliers doesn't die, and the organization at the same time also doesn't die. So if both the elements or both parties work together and help each other, I'm sure it's going to be beneficial. I also feel it's temporary. If we can find some solutions, come together and find out something, a strategy to maybe delayed payments or maybe discounts or anything. So I'm sure everybody wants to be alive, and it's going to be helping the industry as such. So my next question is to Major Aval Sethi. obviously his name and his prefix says that he's from the Indian Army background, and he's a good friend. At the moment, works for embassy in Bangalore. Major Saab, the question is, it's as such, it's a quid pro quo for the business owners and supply partners. It's an issue. The partners, they partner to further their respective businesses. There has to be understanding, trust, consensus between owners and leadership, and the distributors and supplier partners for a sustainable and unhindered engagement between both. What is your view, keeping your rich experience in mind? If you can guide us, please.
Sure, Nathan. So firstly, I would like to thank you and BW Hotelier for inviting me on this wonderful platform and to be able to share my views amongst all the panelists. So when we actually look at the ecosystem today, let's understand that today both the parties, which is the hotels and the supplier partners, are really facing difficult times and challenges, and both have to survive, right? And maturity of both the parties is very important at this stage. And the first step, I think, is to understand from a supplier partner, what is their financial status today? Now, some of them could be actually at the brink of solvency or bankruptcy. So we need to determine that how strong are some of these financially. Would they require advances? Would they require prepayments? Would they require faster payments and so on? Would they be able to supply as before? And we will have to look at a very innovative and a collaborative framework, which cannot exist without each other's support. And the focus should be on introducing collaborative ways of working first. Now, the key here is to create internal alignment and a very collaborative mindset and culture throughout each part of the hotel organization that is linked to this effort. Also, when we look at the suppliers externally, I think suppliers won't fully take part unless there's something in for them. So our aim should be actually a two-way benefit right from the word go. Then there'll also be new norms around safety that have to be understood by the suppliers, right? How safe is a supply chain? Say, for example, for the cold storage, for fresh products that needs to be supplied. What are the hygiene standards that will need to be followed? What norms they would follow for their facilities, for their own staff, for the vehicles that will ensure transport of all the critical supplies to our hotels, right? Most of the organizations that have actually faced supply chain disruptions, especially now due to the coronavirus, do not seem to have visibility down to the tier 2 suppliers, or are highly dependent on a single geography or a single supplier for some of these key products. Now, how can we really look at that ecosystem, and how can we encourage our suppliers with whom we've directly contracted to allow us to gain visibility into their supplier network? So organizations would need to gain more visibility into the extended supplier network. And actually today we'll start to work on a diversification of their suppliers across geographies. Start picking out and identifying some of the key commodities, products, material supplies, and start looking at multi-sourcing some of these or some of the strategic components to reduce reliance on a single supplier. I think some of these will have to be looked at very closely. Now, very broadly, we generally classify that yes, we've got a procurement plan in place, or yes, we are working very collaboratively with suppliers. Now, it is high time when we stop putting all these things just on paper and actually translating these to grounds, right? So from a hotel management point of view and the procurement perspective, I think we need to work very, very closely and bring suppliers into this game as very strategic partners and put everybody's skin in the game.
We, amongst us over here, are some of the senior most people in the procurement business, who don't head one hotel per se. They head a whole lot of hotels. So tell me, this question goes out to you, Bharni, Sudhirji, Clyde, Ozef, right? So tell me, are your new processes to take on the COVID opening up already in place? You must have had a lot of discussions internally. Nitin is aware. I'm sure all of you are aware. Major Saab is aware. What is what is your conclusion that you people have reached in a nutshell?
The current situation is that when we are talking to some of the supply partners to understand their levels, still a lot of ambiguity is there. That's where what we are trying to do is that we are trying to it's more like a two-way process. We need to go back and explain them our expectation. Based on that, we are also trying to understand what is that they are trying to do better than our expectation. Like as I said, that in the elevated hygiene level, vendor audit positions, these certain suppliers are prepared and then trying to bring a more standards in terms of their even vehicle hygiene, in terms of their packaging hygiene, transportation hygiene. For example, as simple as their drivers and delivery boys are wearing a mask and maintaining a social distancing. Even their factory setups are supposed to be having a proper social distancing norms, and they have their PPE set while they're in the producing the products, A lot of things are actually being questioned, but I think some suppliers are ready, certain suppliers are still working towards it. So I think what may end up happening is that when we post lockdown, when we open it up, when we conduct some of the virtual audits, when we conduct some of the, when we do a self-assessment audit questionnaire, when we roll it out, if before the supplier is ready and then meeting our standard, will surely get a kind of immediate chance to start working with any of the hotels. But anyone who is not ready, they may have to really quickly catch up to meet the market demands. If they don't really meet the demands, they may end up a big opportunity to really, work with
Absolutely agree with you, Bernie. People, if suppliers do not follow the new normal standards which are set up by BIS or FSSAI or any standard setting authority, they might be out of the business completely. So I agree with you.
Exactly, I agree with what you say, because these are now just not things which will be on paper. They will actually be, kind of audited. So it's imperative that when we talk about vendors' capabilities, what kind of infrastructures he has, and his understanding of this entire, sanitization and maintaining SOPs and maintaining checklists, these things will become realities. And if they are not followed, then probably they would go out of business. You're right, because today health sanitization is become an imperative. We also talk about people doing self checks. So a vendor, before his man enters the premises, his vendor people do self checks. Basically, are they feeling good? Have they sneezed today? Have they not sneezed today? Temperature. So see, these are some of the things there which is beginning to come into our routine day-to-day operations. Having said that, processes I don't think could be formalized this quickly. They are evolving as of today. That's my understanding.
Correct. I agree with you. And also, Clyde, I also feel that when I started my career, that time we had less number of suppliers and we used to buy many category of goods from one supplier. I think those days are going to come back again, wherein there will be few suppliers with larger number of products and categories. So then the safety, hygiene, sanitation, and the standardization being followed by them. What do you all think? Do you think will that be in place?
I think
totally agree.
Vendor consolidation is important. I somehow Major Saab mentioned something about going on consolidation to multiple vendors. But I think in today's world, I think it's consolidation which will be the key. So you don't want to have too many people entering your premises. Major Saab, you could probably clarify that.
No, absolutely. So I think there was a time, over a period of time, what we started doing was started onboarding more and more vendors who came up with some specific products and services. And what as procurement professionals we ended up with is a whole lot of supplier partners. Now, one aspect was managing the supplier partners. But now going forward, we just cannot afford or start dealing with so many numerous suppliers. And we will have to start working with a few key partners and work collaboratively, innovatively, even ensuring that they invest and build their capability so they are able to offer you more products and services as a consolidation and aggregation. And you start working with these partners.
Correct.
I think training is going to be a very, very important part of vendor and vendor engagement and vendor development. of prime importance.
I would like to add here, you see, we must learn and take a lead from international QSR chains. They have already done this successfully, right? So they have a consolidator in between, and that one guy delivers everything. So I think that is going to be the norm. Even I 100% agree, is going to be the norm going forward, even in the hospitality industry. We must take leads. That reduces the number of transactions, that reduces the risk, because you are dealing with a very vetted and audited partner who is consolidating you on your behalf, on your terms, with your approved partners. So we have to take a leaf and learn from QSR chains, international QSR chains. We've already mastered this, and we can probably adapt and adopt in our system in the hotels and restaurants.
What I personally feel here is currently the India market is not so completely matured like European market or American market. Today it has to be, it may reach a level of somewhere a hybrid model. It's more like a somewhere between both, because there are certain big companies like, for example, some of the wholesale companies who are actually consolidating and then giving us services, like some of the big companies like Walmart or Reliance Cash and Carry, Metro Cash and Carry. But surely, what I foresee is that there are certain markets where these companies are not there, and also there are certain big cities where surely there is a mixture of both the today if you go to some of the big company who is in a position to capable of supplying the material 100%, but at the end of the day, even those companies are buying from the same suppliers who are supplying to hotel industry. So we need to really keep a watch on that, because for example, if you are buying a particular non-vegetarian product for a hotel, but if you go back and check with some of these big companies who are a consolidator, they may already buying again from the same supplier, then it doesn't make sense, right? Unless we have a huge, there is a back-end supply chain is ready for, our current, the Indian, supply. So it is more like a combination we need to think through, and then how, but surely the way forward is going to be, how do we rationalize the suppliers? How do we rationalize the item master? How do we rationalize the, vendor master? That's surely going to be one of the way forward.
Sure.
Buddy, I have a, if you go back, if you have studied Cisco in US market, right? So Cisco in US market provides the A to Z solution to the hotels, right? And that is there in QSR chains here in India, but hotels it has not come yet. So the hotel or a restaurant decides the brand standards, they decide the partners, they decide the terms of the trade, and then there is a partner for a fee in between, and they deliver accordingly. Say all KFCs or Subways and all these QSR chains follow that.
Sanjay, the biggest, the differentiation between the QSR and our hotel industry is that mainly if you look at in QSR, your menus are standard. Your menus are fixed. Right. There are 30 or 40 SKU, whatever your selling point, items are there, that's what is going to be sold. But whereas in our hotel industry, like every event, morning event and evening event doesn't match. So that's where the real challenge comes,
Right.
I love this. This is actually turning into a deal, and which is so good that everybody will be able to get to learn and see many aspects of hospitality industry and not just the hotels. Kanathap, I have a recommendation. Can we request Mr. Pankaj Mathur to ask his question?
Yeah, you must. You are the host, boss.
One is a simple question, and I do not know if the procurement managers have taken heed to this. During this lockdown, many hotels have closed. Some of them are running, and a lot of these hotels have a lot of stock which is lying, which probably other hotels require. Is there any platform you have created or you can create, at least in the same city, where people can probably barter items from each other?
This is Clyde from the Taj Group.
Yeah, Clyde.
Just to answer your question, but in the context of a Taj scenario where, in each of the large metros, we have at least 4 or 5 large hotels. So within our hotels, we are trying to dilute these stocks which are lying next in some place.
I'm talking about the larger perspective.
So
the bigger good of hospitality.
So on a separate platform, nothing like this has been thought of.
probably Nitin can take this forward.
So, Pankaj, hi, this is Barney Dharan here. Even at this current situation, even if we wish to do it, there is a challenge of logistics, moving from stock from one hotel to another hotel. And I think surely, yes, wherever the possibility, nearby possibility, some hotels can individually coordinate. Yes, it's happening. But there is no such a standard program or plan is put in place.
I'm just giving you a thought that maybe you can create a platform or something.
That's a good question. But surely what's happening is that some hotels are surely used what are the kind of items which is surely there is a challenge of expiry stock is there. When we are trying to call back and check with suppliers are also struggling to take back. They are unable to take back because their supply chain, backend supply chain is not very strongly working. And at the same time, because their distributors are also loaded with a lot of stock in their godowns, and within the hotels, sharing is possible very remotely, not in a right way, because it also has certain legal transactional documentation, legally documents to be exchanged, and also there is a kind of when the stock movement is happening, they are responsible to manage the hygiene and safety. So it's a but I think we don't have a kind of
With your kind permission, Nitin, one more, the one which I wanted to ask. I do not know, the industry has not utilized technology in procurement to the way it should have. So what are the procurement leaders of today are here, right here. What all do you think what are your expectations from technology to help you with procurement?
I strongly believe technology is surely a kind of very important, it plays a very important role in bringing efficiencies in every aspect of it. Okay, but today, yes, there is surely a huge opportunity is there. Like as simple as the standard item master consolidation across all the hotels. Surely that is still, there's a kind of opportunity which we can really work around. I mean, there are like in the Marriott organization, there is a lot of plans which is happening at a regional level, at a global level. A lot of steps are put in place. But if you look at it, there's a long way to go. It may take another couple of more years to reach that stage. Today we do have a great technology which is more specific to the particular hotel or particular market level. It's not like a kind of level, but there is a kind of every hotel is having a robust IT and financial platform which we work on. And even outside the Marriott, if you look at it, whenever I talk to some of the suppliers, some of the other hotel industries, I think there's a huge opportunities that really improvise on particularly.
My question actually, what I was saying was that procurement purchase is always, as a department, looked upon differently, and the purchase manager is always under constant. People are looking at him always. So how do we make it foolproof? Basically, that's my point. How do we make this really smooth?
IT tool help purchase managers to perform better, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And so that nobody can cast any aspersions, or they don't have any doubts over them,
No, that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say today, at every hotel specific level, the IT tools are working very well. There are in terms of their like process, in terms of their procurement systems, in terms of what item they are buying, how much they are buying. There is a kind of huge, systems are in place and clear, defined processes are in place. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to the kind of consolidation going beyond the particular hotel, maybe like for example, if you go to some of the European countries where you the supplier you can sit at the hotel and then look at the inventory levels of the supplier. I mean, those kind of level we have not reached. I think that takes some time. That's what I'm
talking. Thank you so much.
Mathur Sahab, I want to add one very difficult statement which I want to say this today. About 15 days ago, there was a webinar which happened, and one of the hotel owners made a statement that you start paying well to your purchasing manager, so he stops taking under the table. And I was really furious to hear that. But I was thinking that if an owner of a hotel thinks like that, and if he doesn't have a control on his own purchasing, and if it's a perception like that, then what the industry must be thinking. So people at that level, first of all, need to put their feet back on floor, and they need to think that if you think that your purchasing manager is taking something below the table, then you first of all reprimand him and you change your own perception rather than making a complete public statement. So I didn't like it and I raised it back with that gentleman. So,
but Nitin, Nitin, this is 90% of the hotels in India. What is being the major hotels? I'm talking about the hotels which are not aligned with any. There are many more, you know. So we need to come up with a platform, a software which cuts across all this. You know.
Fine. Oh, thank you for your question. You know, let's open the window for Mr. Nirmal Khandelwal. Khandelwal sahab has been with the industry for over 40 years now, and his company is there for maybe more than 60, 70 years. So Khandelwal sahab, I have a question. I want BW Hotelier to open the window so then you can ask this question.
The question I want to ask is that there is tremendous amount of confusion, and I really, like somebody said, you need to be absolutely an antaryami to know where this is going. But I can say something that I would like, and I'd like the hoteliers who've been with us for so long, would it not be good to call the people who've been in the industry for a long time, like us and others, and start a new venture, start new procedures. You know, we have been trustworthy. I hope I have been 34 years. If I've lasted, I must be some level of trust. We need to sit across the table and we need you to tell us, please help us in this, and we'll start business all along. I brought minibars to India in
Ajay, we'll have to keep it very succinct.
So I just
want to know,
how can the industry help the people who have been supplying goods? How can the industry help us to help you?
I think this comes to how probably we are going to look at qualifying our suppliers and how we are going to work with them in the future. Now, when I look at the cross section of the industry, and not just hotels, but the general environment today is how can we focus more on technology? And like it was brought out in our previous discussions. So apart from the basic factors of financial sustenance, sustainability, suppliers adhering to the new requirements of the norms of maintaining certifications, permit licenses, I think there's going to be a big focus on technology. Now, some of these suppliers, while they've jumped and they want to ride the bandwagon of whether chemicals, whether sanitizers, whether so many other new categories, face masks and so on, I think a lot of it also will be dependent upon how they are adopting or they're going to adopt technology. Now, there has been a lot of discussion around the disruptive technologies like IoTs, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, analytics, robotics, blockchain primarily. And there are many articles also around blockchain in food, blockchain in products, manufacturing and so on, and creating that visibility. It also ties in very well with that comment that Nitin made earlier of that procurement manager trying to put some money in his pocket, or the perception of somebody trying to put that money in their pocket. So how do we create more visibility into the way that we're doing things, and how do we bring in technology? How do we encourage suppliers to use more of technology? So that's one part of it. The second part is also that from a hotel perspective, we have to look at what is our requirement. And based on that requirement, so whether it is assessment of the critical raw material availability, mapping it to high value products and revenue streams, some of the critical supplies that we are looking at, who the vendors are, who can we really work with, their geographical presence, their wherewithal, where do they come from. We should also look at some of these suppliers who will offer BCP plans, contingency plans on flexibility on contract terms, being able to step up and be more partners in the game than being just a supplier and washing your hands off. So I think some of these, if these partners really come with an open mind, I think we can do a lot together in this business.